Marvel fans, we need to talk about Multiverse of Madness, Wakanda Forever, and the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four and their arch nemesis Doctor Doom are going to begin to appear in the MCU way faster than we first thought.
I'm fast as boy.
What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Avengers Tower. Smash a like on this video if you are giddy with excitement when it comes to the Fantastic Four coming into the MCU. Oh, and also, I'm actually doing what I normally would do as two separate videos, and I'm sort of sandwiching them together to talk about a ton of different updates that happen on a friggin' Saturday for one reason or another. So what I need for you guys to do is to watch this video twice. It'll be even better the second time. And Marvel fans, we are living in exciting times with all these awesome things on the horizon. It's not just the Multiverse of Madness, it's the fact that the X-Men are back over with Marvel Studios, and so we can begin to explore X-Men from other universes and establish them in the main Marvel timeline. It's the Fantastic friggin' Four: Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. It's an exciting time because those characters are iconic, epic, used in so many awesome Marvel stories. But of course, their arch nemesis, Doctor Doom, is maybe the greatest Marvel villain there ever was. And we're excited to see the Marvel MCU version of that character. And I just did a video with updates about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness post reshoots. Couple of interesting things in there. Apparently, the new version of the movie is much better, a much tighter product. And there are a ton of fun Marvel cameos in this film. And people have been teasing out interesting ones that nobody has really talked about yet. Now, this right here is one crazy possibility: having John Krasinski play Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, this is coming from the Illuminati, who has very good sources, and it says here, from what we've heard, it sounds like John Krasinski may have filmed scenes as Mr. Fantastic for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, if this turns out to be true, it would be a huge win for fans that have fan-casted Krasinski as the leader of the Fantastic Four for years. Interestingly, it sounds like Krasinski could be playing a variant version of Mr. Fantastic from another universe. Mr. Fantastic was one of the members of the Illuminati in Marvel Comics. And interestingly, this news comes on the heels of the fact that Reed Richards is very likely to be a member of the Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness. That report came out just the other week, and we did cover it when it happened, but at the time, we had no idea who could be playing Reed, and a lot of the smart money was on actors that had previously played Reed Richards. But the John Krasinski thing makes a lot of sense for two main reasons. Number one, I believe one of the big hangups for John Krasinski was committing to a massive contract with Marvel, because a lot of the rumor mill did indicate that this was on the table for John, that Feige wanted him to be Reed Richards. He was interested in it, but there was some kind of a hang-up. And then just listening to comments made by Emily Blunt, who's John Krasinski's wife, it just seemed like that commitment to a long contract was one of the big hang-ups for both of them coming back, or rather being a part of the MCU. But if they're variant versions that are just in it for one movie, or maybe one movie and then another appearance far from this film, then I think they'd be way more likely to actually sign on the dotted line and do this really cool fan-approved casting. And that's the other big reason that I think this is going down. Feige has his finger on the pulse of the fandom. He knows what fans want. He loves delivering sort of wish fulfillment, fan servicey things in these big movies, and John Krasinski as being Reed Richards would delight fans. Again, I don't think he's sticking around to be Reed Richards in our main MCU timeline. After this movie, he'll very likely die, like many of the members of the Illuminati will die to Wanda in Multiverse of Madness, but it's super cool nonetheless. But now let's shift gears and talk about Wakanda Forever, because it seems like aspects of the Fantastic Four will also be developed in that film. Just briefly, I think it's worth mentioning that Letitia Wright did return to the Black Panther set. Some folks thought that was not going to happen. It did end up happening. But interestingly, Winston Duke got a hefty raise for his return in the film as a result of an expanded role in the Panthers mythos, which sort of correlates with other reports that we had talked about a couple of weeks ago that they've literally changed Wakanda Forever, and now Winston Duke's character M'Baku will likely take the mantle of Black Panther at the end of Wakanda Forever. But okay, so let's talk about this new Doctor Doom rumor, and it's not even really new because this is actually something that was reported on over a year ago, but new reports are starting to make it seem very likely. Okay, so I'm on murphysmultiverse.com here, and they say Bleeding Cool reports that he'll have a very minor role in the story. Speaking of Doctor Doom, they've heard that Marvel Studios has already been working on a costume of some kind, which adds to the potential of an appearance. We've heard very little about the Fantastic Four film so far, and it's uncertain if it even entered some sort of pre-production as of now. So if they are already trying to bring one of Marvel's most iconic villains to life early, it seems like he'd appear in a project sooner rather than later. If he appears, it would mainly be to tease a potential connection to the Wakandan and Atlantean War. And then boom, let's look at this by Andy Signor over a year ago. And I do remember when this happened, a lot of people said no. A lot of people were like, no, this is not going to be a thing. But, look, Andy's got good sources, okay? So sources have exclusively revealed to Fandom Wire and friends at Popcorn Planet that Doctor Doom is set to make his MCU debut in Ryan Coogler's Black Panther 2. That's crazy, right? So, like, you start to pull these pieces together, it really does look like that's going to happen. Marvel's iconic Latvian villain, Victor Von Doom, has traditionally always been centered as the main baddie against the Fantastic Four, even appearing in every live-action Fantastic Four movie to date. But sources tell us Kevin Feige wants to mix things up with Doctor Doom's MCU debut. The Marvel Cinematic Universe tends to use Doctor Doom as his own character outside of the Fantastic Four franchise to start. He'll be appearing in a smaller role as the overall bad guy pulling the strings in Black Panther 2. We're also told Doom's appearance in Black Panther 2 will be just as Victor, but in full Doctor Doom armor. So not just Victor, but Doctor Doom armor. And then, yes, Charles Murphy did have a rumor back in the day that Doom would be the main villain. And to add even more fuel to this fire, several months ago, there was this weird rumor that came out where I think it was Grace. I can't remember exactly who. I was trying to go through my timeline and find it. But somebody said Marvel is quietly casting one of their biggest villains ever right now, and nobody knows about it. And it was weird because I immediately thought this would be Doctor Doom. A lot of fans thought it would be Doctor Doom. And when it comes to Black Panther, here's the interesting aspect of this. I strongly feel that had Chadwick Boseman not passed, that this movie, the way they have it going with like Namor and then Doom pulling the strings of like sort of like a Doom war, but, sort of more offhand with, causing machinations and political unrest, that feels awesome. And then having Namor and T'Challa fighting and Wakanda versus Atlantis, and then that's actually just sort of being a situation constructed by Victor Von Doom, and then Victor Von Doom enters the chat, and we get a weird, like, all these different leaders and people that control these very powerful nations all being established. That's perfect, man. That sounds awesome. Of course, sort of bummer here is that T'Challa is not in this movie. Now, I'm not going to go like full on like we need to recast T'Challa or else, but I will say it's a sort of bummer that it looks like the identity of this movie, Wakanda Forever, is going to more or less remain the same that it was going to before Boseman passed, meaning the movie is a Marvel movie. It's meant to establish more of Wakanda, Atlantis and Namor, and even Latveria and Doom. That's mind-blowing stuff, but it's a Marvel movie. It's not a Black Panther movie. It's a Marvel movie, right? It feels like they're going along with that, except for one small caveat, and that is the fact that they're going to just replace the king of Wakanda. What I'm saying is, like, this feels like it was the perfect story for a sequel to Black Panther and for the growth of T'Challa meeting up against all of these different characters. It's a little bittersweet that it's not going to be T'Challa, that they're going to have it be Shuri and then possibly M'Baku here. But having said all that, I want to double, triple, quadruple down on a point that I have been making on many different videos recently, and that is that Feige is a genius at establishing these little breadcrumbs, taking his time to develop how this will properly happen in the movie theater. And if you're a big sweaty nerd like me and you've been following all these different rumors for over a year now, it's mind-blowing to see how all of this is being put together. Right around the time when we heard that Patrick Stewart met with Kevin Feige, we also heard John Krasinski met with Kevin Feige. We were convinced back then that we were going to see Krasinski as Reed and we were going to see Patrick Stewart in some way, shape, or form as Professor Xavier. Rumors and leaks since then have sort of bared that out. It seems very likely that you will get those things in the Multiverse of Madness, and that's a 2-year ongoing conversation, like work behind the scenes to establish all of this stuff. And then you think back to a year ago, them coming up with the idea that Doctor Doom will be pulling the strings in Wakanda Forever, and that's the brilliant way to establish him outside of the Fantastic Four. I love it. But then you go back to the Multiverse Madness thing. You're going to show audiences a variant version of Reed and the Fantastic Four, mixing it up with the Illuminati. You're going to get some of the flavor that we unfortunately likely are not to get in the main Marvel universe, mainly with like Tony Stark and Reed Richards, having conversations and working together. Hopefully that's in Multiverse of Madness. But the more important aspect here is they're going to set up the Fantastic Four and what the Fantastic Four means to the Marvel Multiverse, mostly Reed and Victor, okay? They're establishing that well before we even get the Fantastic Four movie, because Feige knows that the Reed and Doom relationship is central to the fabric of the Marvel Universe and particularly important for Secret Wars. It's something that's really, really focused on in the Jonathan Hickman Secret War run, and something that I think needs to be established quickly to get us to Secret Wars. So, often because I'm just such a Secret Wars fanboy and I wear that flag very proudly, and I think that's what Marvel's doing next, people will say, well, what about, Doom? What about Reed? Like, these people aren't even here. We don't know when the Fantastic Four movie's coming. How are they possibly going to turn around and do a Secret Wars event in like 2024, 2025, or 2026? It's too soon. Well, look at the Wizard. Look at what Feige is doing. This is crazy. You're going to establish it to mainstream audiences very quickly, the importance of Doom and the importance of Reed and their sort of diametrically opposed viewpoints on intelligence, power, and life. It's beautiful. I can't believe it. I'm super excited for both Wakanda Forever and Multiverse of Madness. And frankly, I still have a lot of questions about Wakanda Forever. I do wish that they had a recast for T'Challa, but I'm just kind of thinking maybe they'll do that in a multiversal setting. Maybe Wakanda Forever, especially if Namor is very strong in the film, which we're hearing he is, and it's just an amazing, incredible, character with Namor that we're really going to want to follow more. Wakanda Forever very likely will still establish a lot of fun things that we as Marvel fans can celebrate. There's been controversies. I do still wish they would recast T'Challa, but overall, I'm satisfied with like the overarching story and what I see Feige attempting here. It seems to be like you would expect, friggin' perfect. So those are the updates for now. Please let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel to see more of our content pop up in your recommended feed. Check me out on TikTok. Check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple. And go check out the live streaming channel. Yeah, we do a lot of content. It's a good time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.